screen share. Screen share. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Yep. Let me know when you want me to.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all again. Welcome to our part 2 for licensing and permits. I know last time we were together, we got really into lease agreements, CUPs, the importance of CUPs, how ABC licensing works. Tonight, we're going to be talking a lot more around the permitting. I feel like if we're not clear on permitting, it can get really confusing. So we wanted to create this platform to kind of take a deeper dive into what that looks like. I will say that my background is bars and restaurants, which are brick and mortar. So I did reach out to a lot of my good friends who work in the pop-up business, work in perishable foods for packaging and all that. So I do have some information from them to share with all of you tonight. But when it comes to the additional permits that you'll need in order to operate your business, and more specifically in the city of Los Angeles, you will need the following permits, with the exception of some that we'll go over. But number one is your health permit. And the health permit is really important that you have in good standing at all times. The health department with the LA County, and this is more county, not so much city, they're very active in making sure that you are in compliance at all times. And the last thing you ever want is for health department to show up to your place of operations and you don't have these things in order. So I always recommend to have a binder on hand where you keep all the important documents so that if you do get audited, you just pull that binder out and hand it to them. And that'll include like your food handler's permit and all these other permits that they're going to ask for so that it's just easy access. They do show up during hours of operation. So the last thing you want is like a line of customers and you're trying to handle the health department at the same time. So that's just something I've learned, having a binder on hand with all the required documents when it comes to permitting. The seller's permit is also a requirement when you are selling. It helps, number one, it gets you access to wholesale pricing and access to certain vendors that can sell you bulk items. But number two, it's necessary to have when you are selling anything in the state of California. And this keeps you in compliance when it comes to your sales and also taxes that you're going to owe. I would say that it's really important to stay on top of your taxes. I am not a tax preparer, nor am I equipped to give you tax advice. But what I will tell you as an experienced business owner, know what your sales taxes are and keep that in, as you're doing your bookkeeping in mind so that you're not overspending and then you get your tax bill at the end of the month and you're like, I wasn't ready for this. I know that some folks struggle with that because it's like, oh, I have this money in my bank account, I can use it, but you forgot to account for the sales taxes that are going to be due from, your sales in California. So make sure you're staying up to date with what those sales taxes are and accounting for them on your books. Just a reminder, if you do have questions, we're a small enough group for you to raise your hand or chime in at any point, okay? We're going to get deeper into all of this as we move along. Number 3, alcohol seller's permit. This is really important. I think that for the most part, people know that they cannot sell alcohol unless they have a permit. If you do not have a permit and you're trying to sell alcohol, you will find yourself in a lot of trouble and some fines. So do not try and do this if you do not have a permit. Now, there are permits that allow you one-day sales for special events. They're very specific as to how those work. But just know that those are available. So if you were part of an event and you wanted to sell alcohol for that day, there's a way to do so. You'd have to download that form from ABC, and there's steps that also require a sign off from local law enforcement to get that permission. And number 4, the local Los Angeles city permits. So they have their list of specific requirements if you are doing business in the city of Los Angeles. So we'll get into that. And just a note, a rule of thumb, the CUP and CUB is not the finish line. Even if your building, and this is for brick and mortar, more specifically has the CUP or CUB, you still need to obtain an ABC license to sell alcohol. So just because the CUP says that alcohol sales are permitted, you need the ABC license in addition to. So that does not just determine it. Maybelline, next screen, please. So let's talk about health permits. So all of the information we're going to cover on this particular slide can be found and accessed at publichealth.lacounty.gov. So you'll see the website there. So some of us are mobile food vendors or aspire to be. Just know that anyone over 18 years of age can get a mobile food facility permit. You do not need to be a US resident or citizen to get a public health permit, and public health will not ask questions regarding your residency status. All mobile food facilities must be inspected before selling food to the public, and new trucks and carts may also go through plan check process. So plan check, there's an entire department dedicated to this, and all they do is make sure that everything is in compliance, so that all the requirements that they have, you're meeting. So some of these require 3 compartment sinks. Now, this isn't anyone's specific case, this is just an example. So in my case, I'm required to have 3 compartment sinks so that the sanitation and rinsing of glassware is done correctly. So they'll come to my establishment before I can even open my doors and make sure that that is already part of my establishment. If it is not, I do not have permission to open. They can come at any point, even if I did get approval before opening my doors, to make sure that that 3 compartment sink is operating and that the temperatures are correct and the pH balances are on point, right? So all of that stuff, I have to train my team to make sure they understand what the requirements are. And I recommend you do the same in the events that if you're not able to work that evening because of prior commitments, your team knows what is required of them. Okay. The fee for public health permit and permitting process is different depending on the type of equipment that will be needed to safely serve the planned menu items. So they'll determine that based on the equipment, and it varies based on the type of operations that you have. And permitted food facilities must follow all local rules about land use and are not allowed to expand operations in a way that blocks the sidewalk. I'm sorry, Maybelline. In addition to public health permit license, you are required to have a mobile food facility permit fee and a land use permit plus fee. I'm going to share a screen because I'm going to take you to the actual website. Sometimes these things are so hard to navigate, and excuse all of my open tabs that you're about to see. My my computer screen is very reflective of my brain. Let me move this and this. I think we're gonna go. I'm gonna take you here. Okay, so I'm gonna take you to the homepage. Sometimes these government websites are a nightmare to navigate. So the easiest thing to do is just to go to that website that I listed on the screen, and you could just go here to the search tab and hit permits. And then it's going to pull up a page with all the different types of permits, right? So I had already jumped ahead before getting on here. And it's going to take you to this page here. So when you're on this page, it'll have your public health permit application, but you want to make sure that you're selecting the correct ones. Now, I know everyone's business a concept is different. So if you're gonna be operating catering facilities, obviously go there. I know that the most common for pop-ups are the cottage food operations, and recently they've added two. So what my friends have shared with me is that in addition to the public health permit, you also have a cottage license if you make non-refrigerated food that falls within their allowed category, like baked goods, jams, dried pastas. Then there's a new cottage license, Class B, that allows folks to cook perishable foods and sell from their home or in permitted carts or street vendors. Okay, so that's this bad boy right here. And it's real simple. I mean, it's not simple, but it's simple to access. Just click here and then you just start going through the process as they prompt you through this. Obviously, you have access to us. I do encourage you that between, I know it's a short time frame. Usually we get like 2-3 days before we see each other again. I will see you all tomorrow. So if you have a little time to like navigate through these things, I encourage you to, so that if you do come across a question that you don't know how to answer or something stumped you, you have the opportunity tomorrow during our more open forum to ask questions. I know that I would sometimes stumble along the way when it came to this in the beginning. So really take advantage of the opportunity to lean on us for any questions you have. I'm not a county expert, but I can say that I've done the public health permit quite a few times to know more or less what they're looking for. Maybe if we can go back to our slides. Oh, I'll stop share. Oh, there's a question.
That's me, Belinda.
Hey, Belinda, thank you.
Hi, I'm sorry if it's a little noisy, just really quickly. For those that are getting the food truck, and I know there's different, various food trucks that can, to meet the business need. But for those that, even if they have a 3-compartment sink and oven and storage, do they also require you to prepare your food at a commercial kitchen, or can you prepare like directly there on the
Yeah, for the prep of the food, that's a great question, and I will look into that for you. I want to say that if you are preparing somewhere like the commercial kitchen outside of the food truck, both will need to be permitted, just because they'll need that. So just to clarify, the question is if you're allowed to prep both in the commercial kitchen and in your food truck, correct?
Yeah, we can talk to her. That would be nice.
Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm on this phone.
Okay.
If you don't, okay, so if you don't have a commercial kitchen and you have a food truck that has a 3-compartment sink and refrigeration, or it's past permit, are you required to also have a commercial kitchen space to prepare the food? I don't know if there's any limitations when it comes to having a food truck. Do you also have to have a commercial kitchen to prepare that, prepare, I don't know, for majority or a percentage or 100% or?
Okay, that makes sense. I'll definitely look into that and have an answer for you. I would want to say, no, you wouldn't be required, but the city of LA is so specific sometimes, and things sometimes don't even make sense. So I don't want to answer on their behalf, but by tomorrow I'll have that answer for you. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our next slide. All right, so for those of you who have restaurants, if you're purchasing an existing restaurant and you do not anticipate any major construction or remodeling, those things would require a building permit. So if you bought a location and you're like, oh, well, it looks good, but I wish those, what are those things called where people sit in groups? Booths. I wish they didn't have booths. I want to take those out. And I don't like that wall. If that wall wasn't there, I could tear it down and make an open space. that's requiring some building and construction. You will need a permit to do so. But if you walk into a space and you're like, this is perfect, I just want, you know, a purple wall there and my sign to go there, then there's no building permit needed. I will say that it's really important to find spaces that you could just do facelifts to, because if you're going to do an entire build out, the city of LA could be a nightmare to work with when it comes to building permits, and it'll cause major delays and can get very expensive. So really try and find something that's turnkey for you, some paint on the wall and get your setup going. If you plan to build a restaurant or make major modifications to an existing restaurant, in addition to a public health permit, you must obtain all approvals from your local building and safety office to your final inspection with plan check. Okay. After payment of the public health permit fee is made, the permit will be issued. Again, like I mentioned, this can be a very lengthy process. If you go this route, it's extremely important that you negotiate abated rent. Now, I talked about this last time. When you're negotiating leases with landlords, there's what's called abated rent, which means they can give you anywhere from 3 to 6 months on the contract where you don't pay any rent in the beginning. And that's because you are expecting to do a lot of construction. Therefore, there's no money coming in. Therefore, there's no rent having to be paid. If you don't negotiate this and you do have a situation where you're doing a lot of build out, you're going to lose a lot of money without it being necessary. Any questions there? Oh, yes.
Okay, so I have a question about that.
Yeah.
I was going to actually add a comment. I was looking, when I was looking for a ghost kitchen, some of them do have equipment that you can just walk into, and then the others want you to, any equipment that you bring in, you have to go through plan check, and you cover those fees. I lost my train of thought. I wanted to say that for anyone that is looking, so make sure that they factor in the cost of that. You just mentioned, so my question is about what you just mentioned about the abatement, and I didn't know about this. If that would be something, or have you ever heard of asking a ghost kitchen owner for such?
I wouldn't see why not, because they are similar to landlords, they are owning these ghost kitchen spaces. And if it's requiring you to get permitting for that equipment or get it, reviewed by plan check, then I would negotiate that, just because you're not able to produce anything in the space until those things are cleared, but you want to lock in your space. So I would encourage you to do so anyway.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure it's probably differ from owner to owner, because this one owner, he was just like,
100%.
No, anything you bring in, you got to be responsible for that, because once you leave, then I may not can rent this space out, blah, 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 blah. So he was like, no, whatever fees you are in. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, 100%. Because the same thing goes for landlords. Like, some will be like, yeah, I'll give you TI and abated rent. And then some will be like, no, absolutely not. I don't do any of that. You want this space or not? So always negotiate. It doesn't hurt to ask. The worst thing people can say is no, so always get in the habit of negotiating, especially as business people. It's just the name of the game. So if you are in a ghost kitchen, I don't see why you wouldn't be allowed to negotiate some abated rent, as long as you're explaining, look, I'm just trying to get the permits and get clearance. That's the only time I need. If it's reasonable, I don't see why anyone would say no to this. Okay, next slide. Seller's permit. So the following information was taken directly from the City of LA's website, and the application for the seller's permit can be accessed via business.lacity.org. So again, I really encourage y'all to try and do some of these steps prior to tomorrow. That way, if any questions come up with the application, we utilize that time to answer any questions. But if you fall into the category of business that plans to sell goods or products within the state of California, you need to get the California Sales Tax Certificate number, also called the seller's permit. Our government never forgets their money. They're going to come around for those taxes. So make sure you're in good standing. The seller's permit will enable you to collect and pay sales tax for the items that you sell and is required from both wholesalers and retailers. If you only plan to make sales during short periods, less than 90 days in one location, such as a pop-up shop or a seasonal event, you may apply for a temporary seller's permit. So there's two different ones. Know which one, you're required to have. Now, by visiting the websites, if you're not ready to apply for this, don't do it. Just kind of like navigate it. I don't want y'all to get yourselves in a position where you're having to pay unnecessary taxes. Somebody had a question?
I have a question.
Sure.
What about in like the any intel into like e-com if you're like shipping to multiple states?
Yes, so they will have something there. So when you're completing the seller's permit, it's going to ask the line of business that you're in. So you want to select the correct one. And then it's going to have a series of questions for you. Like, are you planning to sell tobacco? Are you in fishing? And I don't know what. It's like the same questions get asked. You're just going to obviously answer them as they apply, but there will be specific ones for e-commerce. And again, you want to make sure that on your end, wherever your POS is, where you're taking those sales in, that the correct taxes are being charged, because then you're going to have to cover the difference if you didn't apply the correct amount of taxes. And they base it on your sales report. So if your sales reports show that you made a certain amount and you're taxed at a certain amount, then that's what you owe to our government and sales taxes. Next slide, por favor. All right, so to register for your seller's permit, you can use the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration online. There's a registration tool, or you can apply in person at one of the field offices. Now, COVID switched up a lot of things where it used to be easy to walk into an office. Some offices still don't take walk-ins. So if you did want to do this in person for whatever reason, you want to make sure you contact their office first and make sure that that is an available option. And if they take appointments, if not, online is just a little more accessible and a little faster than waiting on someone else's availability. So in order to complete your registration, you'll need the following: your social security number, corporate officers excluded. So if you have additional corporate officers on your corporate docs, then they don't need it. It's just your social security, your date of birth, your driver's license number or state ID or other ID such as a passport or military ID, the incorporation date. So for those of you who've already gotten your business structure taken care of, do we have the corporate docs here? You'll get a binder they refer to as your corporate docs. I'll show you an example of one of ours. And those corporate docs will have all of this information. So the date that you became incorporated in there, it'll have, so you get like a binder like that with your business name on it. And then inside this binder is where you'll have the employer identification number. Sometimes you can access that from the website or your CPA if you're working with one, and your corporate number. So it's two separate ones, but you'll need this stuff for the seller's permit because they want to make sure you're a legitimate business and not just, a person trying to sell, to the public without any experience and whatnot. So if you haven't done those steps, I think we've already covered that through the courses that we've had together here. If not, it's a course that's coming up. The name and location of a bank where you have an account. Again, I'm not sure if we've already gotten to that, if it's been one of the past classes. If not, it's coming up. You want to have a separate bank account for your business. Try and not commingle your funds ever. Keep those things separate. The names and addresses of suppliers. Sometimes, I know in the beginning for me, this was a little challenging because I had no suppliers for being so new. But what I was doing was setting up accounts with certain vendors. And if they felt comfortable, I would list them where it was requested. But sometimes they don't ask for that. But names and addresses of suppliers, name of the person maintaining your account, names and addresses of personal references, anticipated average monthly sales and the amount of those sales which are taxable, and your email address. Most sales in California are taxable. So most of the time you would say 100%. I can't think of a sale that would not be taxable unless someone here knows something that I don't. Let me in on your business. Any questions here?
Me again.
Bring them on. I love that you have questions.
Sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. But a couple of things. What you just showed us, that binder, where did you say that comes
Oh,
from?
okay. So you want to get like your legal structure done. So whether you're going to be an LLC, a sole proprietor, an S corp, whatever it is, your tax preparer can help you best select what structure makes the most sense for your business, because the structure is going to determine how your business gets taxed. So there's different types of pros and cons to each of these. And I think it's also another one of our courses that you're going to get on which the pros and cons of each structure. So then once you apply to have your legal structure completed, it goes off to the state of California. Once it runs its background and sees that you're in good standing, the Secretary of State, they're going to send you something that looks like this. These are going to be your corporate docs, and they're going to have all this information for you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you've already done those steps and did not
Yeah.
receive a corporate doc, you might want to
Correct.
check with the person who helps get you structured.
Okay. All right. Because I did not. Thank you. And then the second part was what you just asked about the taxing, because that is something a colleague of mine's in the same field as food service was like, you're not supposed to tax. And then I heard something differently. So I'm like, I wasn't taxing people like my sales, but then I'm like, oh, I think I need to tax sales. So I'm still not very clear on that.
Yeah. So, and you're not alone, because we were making this mistake in the beginning ourselves, where we were not in the right, not charging the correct amount of taxes. So when I would get the bill to pay our sales taxes, I was actually cutting into our profits. And so it's really important to stay on top of your local and state taxes so that you're charging the correct amount. The customer should be paying those additional taxes for what they're purchasing, and that's what you're going to have to send off. So just, you can Google that. I know it varies by city. So based on the city you're in, we'll have a different local tax. So you have to stay on top of that stuff. If you have a good CPA or the person doing your business taxes, they'll help you stay on top of that by giving you a call and, hey, taxes changed, make sure you're upping it on your POS system. This is all like the not fun stuff, guys. I know we're all very creative individuals, but I cannot preach enough the amount of times that I've said that our community does not lack in talent or ideas or, creativity, but what we don't have access to is the business side of things, so these things, if I had known them when I first started, could have saved us a lot of money. So I'm glad you're all taking notes. I see you guys taking notes over there. And looking up your local taxes too, if you have to do it on your own, it's a simple Google search, you know, like Glendora local taxes, local sales taxes, you know, Los Angeles or City of LA local sales taxes, and that'll help you out. Stay on top of that. I think we're at a 9.75% or 9.5%. See, like it's in my POS. Luckily, we have a good CPA taking care of us. Next slide.
Oh, Carissa, I have a really quick question just to clarify
Please ask
between.
as many questions as you want.
Okay, thank you. The name and addresses of suppliers when you're initially setting, can you just confirm that again? Because when you're saying suppliers,
It could be vendors too. So
okay,
it's not often or always they ask for this. I think it depends on the type of business you have that they have different questions that'll come up.
Okay.
I think because we're in the liquor business, we were being asked for some additional information. So let's just say for whatever reason, your structure of business requires some suppliers. Well, is there a vendor that you've been working with that you already have, you know, some set of payment history going through?
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just kind of your vendors that you work with.
Because this seller's permit gives you tax exemption with vendors that are wholesaling products. So is there a time where you were like paying taxes for product before you received
So
your seller's permit?
there can be situations like that, which is why I highly encourage working with the proper CPA, because there are situations where you're paying double taxes when certain things could be tax write-offs. Now, again, I'm not a tax professional, so I get nervous kind of talking on a recorded webinar about taxes. So I do encourage like tax questions, take back to your tax preparers, but there are situations where certain tax that you paid can be a write-off.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. ABC license. Now I know not, I don't think we have anyone that sell alcohol. Maybe elixirs fall under this. I'm not sure, but what we found is that the margins tend to be much higher in alcohol sales versus only food sales. So these are folks who are looking to move into the restaurant brick and mortar spaces. I know that a lot of my friends who are restaurant owners really push themselves to get the liquor license because the spreads on food, you know, sometimes it doesn't allow you to be as profitable. Now, having liquor on hand to complement your sales allows you to have higher profit margins. So it makes sense. And I encourage anyone who's looking to go into restaurant spaces to really consider at least beer and wine to offer your customers, because it will allow some additional profit and revenue streams. If you feel that selling alcohol is or will be part of your ideal business, and it would be highly encouraged to parch as a business. I don't know what there, I'm sorry. Purchase. Maybelline, forgive me, I have a typo. To purchase a business with a current ABC license. So you can look up the different licenses at abc.ca.gov. Now, because we don't have folks that I know of on this call who are interested in ABC licenses, I will not go into that. It is a whole other workshop in its own, all the different types of alcohol licenses that are out there. But if anyone wants to follow up with me after, feel free to do so. There are a multitude of different ABC licenses that can be confusing to navigate if you're not sure what you're supposed to be applying for. Next, please.
I'm sorry, I did have a quick question about,
Please.
not so much ABC licensing, but for like a 1 day license, like how, okay, so yes, my company, I don't, you know, sell alcohol, but there has been times where I did a catering or a pop-up or something, and a customer has asked or a client has asked, but I've never pursued like a day license. Can you discuss a little bit of that?
Yes, absolutely. And great question. So there are special events permits that allow you to sell alcohol for the day. You don't need any additional licensing or permits other than this one application that you will submit to ABC. I want to say the document is ABC 7A, but I will confirm that with you all tomorrow. Let me make note. And so what you do is on this application, you answer a series of questions about yourself, your business, and what the event is. It does require for local law enforcement to sign off. So they do, there is a few steps, and they don't allow you to submit the application more than a month prior to your event. So if you know your event is 2 months out and you're like me, you want to be ahead of it and you submit all your paperwork, they're not going to take it. You have to wait till a month out. And it could get stressful because if you're counting on that liquor portion of your event, and LAPD is taking forever to sign off, you have to know who needs to sign off there. Then you send it to ABC. ABC sees that it's been signed off, then you're good to go. I believe it's also $100 fee. So you'll have to have that check ready for them as well. But I will have that confirmed for you tomorrow, but you are able to pull special event permits. Now that special event permit cannot be used in a place that already has a liquor license. I don't know why or how that makes sense, but like if my location that has beer and wine, I wanted to pull a special permit for 1 day of full liquor sales, I'm not allowed to do so. It has to be in a location that has no liquor license.
Does that apply for like festivals? So, for instance, you're doing a food truck and you want to do a cocktail of sorts, and there'll be other vendors, or even the grounds may have a bar or something. How would that apply?
So
is that the same thing?
That's a great question. So you would be allowed at a food festival, but you have to clearly indicate where that bar will be set up. And they make you kind of provide a drawing. And then you have to indicate like where on that location you plan to have that bar and the parameters of it. So those would be the requirements.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Corissa,
Anita
I
has
have
a
a question.
Sure, Nicole, thank
Yes,
you.
it's really basic question, but if I want to use the liquors for cream or syrup for the pancakes, do I need a license? No, right?
No, you don't, because I believe as long as you're using it as an ingredient and not so much selling it to the public for consumption, as a liquid, from my understanding, you do not need the liquor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Good question. Anyone else? All right, next slide. LA City specific permits. If your business is located within the city of Los Angeles, you will be required to complete the following. There is a new business registration. So once you have received your corporate docs, and it doesn't mean you have to have the binder, you should have a binder, but if you don't have the binder, but you have all your information, you need to make sure that you're registering your business with the city of Los Angeles. And you can do so on the city's website. And all that does is it makes the city of LA aware that you're an active business. Now, if you don't do this, you're doing yourself a disservice, because the city of LA right now is in a position where they're going to be offering a multitude of grants to micro entrepreneurs and small businesses. And in order to qualify for these grants, oftentimes they ask for your registration. And I can't tell you the amount of times I've worked with micro entrepreneurs and small businesses where we try and get them positioned for funding. Remember, grants is free money, you don't have to pay back. But because they missed some simple steps like these, they didn't qualify for them. So not only is it good for yourself to operate business in the city of LA, but also position yourself for funding opportunities when grants do come up. So again, just register your business with the city of LA. It's a simple process online. You're just kind of entering your basic information like, hey, I'm XYZ cookie company. My EIN number, which we talked about a little bit earlier, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my address for my business. Real simple. And then you're an official business with the city of LA. The business tax registration. So you'll be like, hey, we did that. No, the seller's permit is something else. The business tax registration with the city of LA is something else. They're coming for you with these taxes. So make sure you do this step 2. All of this can be done on the website for the city of LA. Business taxes must be up to date, which is why I really encourage that you create a system as you're operating. What I was doing in the beginning is I had my business checking account. Attached to it, I had like a savings account. So on a weekly basis, I would just try and transfer what I knew my tax amount was to the savings account. And then that way I knew to account for it. It was going into a separate account and it would help me keep up to date with taxes. So if you don't have a system from the beginning and you fall behind from the get-go, it's a tough place to be, and then you won't be up to date. So make sure you're staying up to date with your business taxes. This one was really odd, especially when I first opened. You need a police alarm permit. This is for brick and mortar. So if you open a brick and mortar location, you do need a police alarm permit, even if you don't have an alarm. You have to pay this fee. Trust me, I am just as confused as you are, but they love their fees. Police non-alarm and fire permit. Same thing. And this is for brick and mortar, okay?
I'm sorry, I have, this is a good segment. Okay, so I, rent a share kitchen space that I, pay monthly, but
Okay.
that's not something that I would be responsible for, or is it the owner of the building, or would they come for me if I didn't not paying?
Are you the tenant, like
Right, yes,
full-time tenant in that location?
correct.
I want to say that you would be responsible for this, but I'll confirm that for you. And
But meaning, like, I am not by myself, like I literally share the space.
No, because of the concept, I want to say that it's perhaps your landlord there that's handling that because of the concept. Now, if you were operating it as a restaurant on your own, then yes, absolutely.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So again, all of the above can be completed at, I can't read my screen, latax.lacity.org. Any questions here? Don't get discouraged. It's all in the beginning. It's like you take care of this stuff, and there are some that you have to renew annually, not all of them. Okay, so it's just important to make a note in your calendar that can send you a reminder like, oh, I have to renew this license, or this permit fee is coming up. So it just creates systems for yourself. Now, that's not all of them. You only have to do most of these once. Yay, more. But honestly, I'd rather you all know, like upfront, what you need to take care of on the back end, the logistical stuff. So to complete the application online for all the stuff we talked about, you're going to need the following. Social security number, if the business is a sole proprietorship. Again, you need to know the legal structure of your business. And Maybelline, have they had that training yet? Have y'all had that training yet on the structures, the pros and cons of each one? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So you all know what I'm talking about. Or federal employment identification number, which is often referred to as your EIN. This is your business social security. And that's EINs are usually what you use for partnerships, corporations, LLCs, or trusts. You'll need the legal business name. Now, a lot of people that I consult for, they get confused when it comes to this. Your business, when you register it and you establish it as the legal entity that it is, you're gonna have to pick a legal name. This is a name that no one else is gonna see. It's just you and the state and the government. So for example, I have a business called Nativo in Highland Park. The legal name is NEOG LLC. So that's my legal business name. But my doing business as name is Nativo. Now, both names you'll have to make sure aren't taken. Because you could go through all of this and then you'll find out it's taken and then it's a mess, okay? So the next thing is you're doing business as name. Everyone follow that part? Great. Your business start date. So if your business start date is earlier than the current calendar year, you will receive a notice requesting gross receipts for each year you're in business or your business has been operating. Once received by the Office of Finance, you will receive a notice of liability due for prior years. So this is why I say, just make sure you're using whatever start date is in your corporate docs. It'll say there when you filed and registered as a business. I'm telling you, if you're all selling without having the proper permits, they're gonna come for you with your taxes that you owe them. So get everything organized so you could sell properly. The business type, they'll want to know what type of business you are structured as, a sole proprietor, partner, corporation. Mailing address, and this is if it's different than your primary address. I like to keep the addresses different, separate. Obviously mine are brick and mortar, but there was a time where I didn't have a location yet. And so for folks that don't have an actual brick and mortar, there's ways to set up a PO box that's specific for your business. Because this is public information, will addresses for businesses be public information on their corporate docs?
I think so, yes.
I want to say they are, so you don't want your home being public record. You know, nowadays, there's a lot of crazies out there. So if you can, I think there's ways to find PO box addresses for your businesses and use that. Business contact information. So if you have a CPA, that would be good to include there. That's just your tax person. Other information you may need to submit, the sales tax number. So that you should have already taken care of. We talked about that earlier. So once that issues, they'll ask you for that. And then business activity code. So there's this thing called NAICS. I'll say that again, NAICS. And on there, they assign numbers to the type of industry that you're in. So you just need to know what number applies to the industry that your business is in. I honestly like to keep a file of this stuff just for easy access, since it's requested. Similar things are requested for grants. So you have all this stuff organized and position yourself for funding as well. Next slide.
I think Belinda has another question.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm not going to interrupt you. Never.
You're good.
But I just wanted to comment about what you were talking about, the PO box and all that, and the DBA. So, and the crazy. So I did do, well, when I had to publish my business, after they're doing a DBA, you had to publish it into a circulation of some sorts for like 4 weeks or something. So I did that, and I did get I got a box, a mailing, one of those virtual mailboxes. Went to go check it a little bit later, and there was a letter in there, and I thought it was for someone else. Anyway, I opened up the letter, and it was from a prisoner in San Quentin.
Oh my goodness, you're
And
kidding.
so, no, I'm not. So he saw my publication in this particular newsletter that he actually, gets monthly or whatever. And so maybe he scans them to see what businesses are out there. And so he had a business proposition for me. So like, he's like, I'll be getting out. And he told me like all of why he was in there. He was framed. So yes, there are crazies out there. So I just wanted to say that to everybody. So yes, don't be alarmed if you get a letter from someone.
That is wild. I'm so thank you for sharing that. But you see, this is why you don't want to use your home address. So y'all heard it here first. I'm sorry you went through that. That must have been so scary. Okay, so agencies, the descriptions of them, and contacts. So the County of Los Angeles business filing and registration. This is where you can get your DBAs. So remember I was talking about doing business as, so what the public knows your business to be. You can contact someone at that number. Sometimes you're going to get a lot of recordings. They'll redirect you to a website or email address. Make sure you're ready to take notes for that when you call them. This is so that you can register that doing business as. Now, before you get to that point, you want to make sure that your name is not taken. And I think, again, we've already gone through that portion of that class in a different course with this 12-week series. Where you want to, number one, make sure that your business name isn't taken, and really important additional steps is making sure that the domain for the website and the social media handles are all available. That way your name's consistent across all platforms. Wait, sorry, I'm being really slow. The County of Los Angeles Treasurer Tax Collector. This is where you can obtain a business license. Again, I shared all the websites with you, but if you wanted to reach out to any of these departments to ask them questions, this is their numbers. The State of California Alcoholic Beverage Control. The Secretary of State for Corporations, Companies, and Partnerships. City of Los Angeles Building and Safety Planning. This is more for brick and mortars. Same thing with that other number. City of Los Angeles Public Works Bureau of Sanitation. There, who's going to check on the oils and greases and all that good stuff. So it's just a compilation of different departments and agencies that you may have to work with at some point. Trust me, guys, I get it. This stuff's not fun. It's not fun, but it's necessary. And I'm glad we have this space and opportunity to talk about it. Can you get our light?
Is the Secretary of State, is that where you register your business, whether it's for like an LLC or a corporation, where you get that binder?
The Secretary of State, yes, correct.
That was the end. That's why I stopped sharing. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I know it's not the full hour and a half, and I'm kind of glad it's not, because it's a lot of information. It's a lot. I see Marcy has, nope. I thought I saw a hand up.
Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
So I did want to ask for the sample, like before you get the permit, what permit is it? From the health department, I believe it is. You have to send in a sample of your, what is it? Your label, right? So do you use your PO box address, or would you use your home address for that?
This is before you register as your business. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, okay, so that's a great question. I think you're gonna be okay submitting your home address in that case because it's not going to the public. It's just going specifically to that department. The moment you register your business, it becomes public information, and then that's when the public has access to your business address.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? If you can't think of questions now, I do encourage you to write them down. That way we have some conversation pieces for tomorrow. I know that you'll have some questions on the worksheets that you were provided with so that it does kind of prompt us to have, you know, conversations. I like for us to all talk and build off of each other. Any other questions right now?
I wanted to ask about this NAICS situation that you mentioned. I
Yes.
did look it up quickly just to see what it was about. Sorry, first of all, what is it for? And
Okay, so what it's for is a good question. You don't, like, it's very rare you get asked for it. The times I've been asked for it were like in like business registration situations, grants, sometimes grants, not always. But
okay,
every so often, especially if it's a government grant, they'll ask for that number. And it's just really kind of like a code that classifies what industry your business falls under.
okay,
And it's, again, very rare that you're asked for it, but you are.
okay. And then like something like what I'm doing, like as like a pop-up, or like as a vendor. I mean, I was kind of looking into it and it said like limited service restaurant, even though I'm not a restaurant, I'm like selling a product.
Yeah, that's the thing about these things. It's so weird sometimes where you'll fall under. I
Yeah,
think like, as long as you get as close as possible to one of the classifications, you're fine.
okay,
I remember when we were just a bar, I was having a hard time kind of navigating exactly where we fall under.
yeah.
I did put mobile food service,
Mhm.
and it looks like the number that's popping up is 722330.
Yeah, I did see that one.
And like I said, as long as it's close enough,
Okay,
you're okay.
okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, thank you. I think you're still muted. Oh, I think I can hear you now. Is it
Me?
Yeah, Brittany, right?
Belinda? Oh,
Belinda,
sorry. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Belinda.
'Cause I only
That's
see-
okay, because it says B. Yeah, sorry. I didn't want to speak into
I'm
you.
sorry about that.
Just in case. Oh, so I recently went to like a contract LA kind of
yes.
seminar, right? And learned about the NAICS and one of the things, it may be helpful that when primes or people that are bidding, looking for contractors to work with them, so that NAICS code helps to, what is it, like narrow down the search. So when these contractors are looking for, like you just mentioned, specifically food service or whatnot, that's that helped me to understand, because I was like, what is a NAICS? What does this mean? Da, da, da. So the explanation I got to was it just helped them to narrow down their search. Is that correct? Or am I,
Yes, and thank you for
getting
mentioning
that one
that.
mixed up?
No, you're absolutely correct, Belinda. Thank you for bringing that up. So what Belinda's referring to is that recently the American Rescue Act plan went into effect. And what that means is that there were certain funds that were allocated to every state by the federal government in an effort to stimulate the small business community. And so as this money is funneling into different counties and cities of the state, they are required to make sure that a certain percentage of those funds goes to women and BIPOC owned businesses. So in order for the city to easily find someone that suits the needs that they have for some of the contracts that are available through the city. They do this this background like check in their system. So I'm gonna have that information for you tomorrow, because when we created this, that wasn't a thing yet. This is something that just started in January. So I'm gonna have that for you, but there's a website where you're gonna go register your business, and then you're going to register yourself as woman owned. And then for those of you who are BIPOC, you're gonna register it as a BIPOC owned. If you're a veteran, then you register it as veteran owned. The more you can classify your business, the better. And then that NICS number will help also kind of narrow down the search. Now, it doesn't end there, because of course the city is not going to go looking through hundreds of files to see who meets, you know, the needs of the contract. They have this other website called RAMP, RAM as in Michael, P as in Paul. So you're going to go there, and you're also going to register. And on a weekly basis, RAMP sends out this newsletter or email where it lists all the open contracts that could potentially fall within your business industry so that you can bid on them. So it's just their effort to make sure that these funds. Hey, I lost everybody. Are you guys still there?
Yes,
We're still here.
we
Oh,
see you.
Yeah, we can
My
hear you.
screen went blank. That was so weird. Like,
Oh,
sorry about that. That's their effort. I have a lot to say about it, but I don't know that this is the time or place. Follow me on Instagram. I'll still share my thoughts about how that money is being allocated. But if you do see opportunities that you qualify for, we'll talk about that tomorrow, how to get registered with RAMP.
all right. I have a question. So as of now, I haven't registered under any name or picked an exact business structure. My reasoning, I was like super gung-ho about it and like ready to do this. And now because of all of this information that has been given to me, it's clouded my direction on, and not so in a bad way, but it's given me a lot more to think about and consider. But I don't want to lose out of having a rapport and using the small scale of sales I have right now as building, and all that money is just being saved. So I'm not sure if I should, to gain access from what you're saying to get these grants, you have to have that, correct? You have to have all of that, right? So even if
here's my recommendation, and having done this for a long time, and being a woman of color owning business, access to funding is extremely challenging as it is. And so when there's opportunities for grants, you want to make sure that you're ready and positioned for them. And the longer we take to properly structure our business, the longer it's going to take to have any type of opportunity to get that grant. So
right.
the quicker that you can make your business official, the better standing you'll have at having access to funding.
Right.
I feel that a lot of these statistics that come up about why we don't get access to funding is because we lack this information.
Right.
So you're in a very privileged space to be able to have access to CLA and all this information. It's what you do with it that's going to position you to really have your business get that funding. So
right.
I wouldn't refer to it as clouded. I would really look at it as information to help you properly select the proper structure for your business, because a lot of people will start their business under a certain structure and realize, hey, I'm getting reamed in taxes when I could have had all these other write-offs, right? So that's why it's really important to understand the pros and cons of each type of structure, so that it better provides you information when you do meet with the tax professional and say, I do have these questions. What do you recommend makes the most sense for me as a sole proprietor or as an LLC? And what type of sales you're having and what you need to write off. And then, you know, when the grants do come, you're ready to submit applications there.
Right. So yeah, there's like a surplus amount of knowledge, and it's super dope to get access to this. So next would be, it's very important to meet with a CPA or a tax, anybody that's well known in this specific field, right? Because there's a lot of tax people that are not very savvy when it comes to business. So that would be another research, correct? Like researching who works specifically on that, and then bring all the documents that I need to share to them, and then they would help me narrow down what works.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we have a group of amazing entrepreneurs here who maybe already work with someone that they're willing to share tomorrow. So that's why it's important for us to have dialogue, because someone might already be working with accountant. And I'm like, hey, check my person out. I'm willing to share my person. If y'all know people, then share that. But it is an investment, and it's a worthy investment.
Right.
Make sure your business is structured correctly.
And once that is structured correctly, then there's like so much possibilities when it comes to grants, saving in your separate checkings,
Funding, if you're going to
yes,
loans, small business loans, whatever it is, you just have to be have all your ducks in order when you go and ask for funds. Yeah.
Super exciting. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have a question. So I'm kind of like on the other extreme where I have not sold one single product. Do you advise? I'm like, you know, should I register all of these things, or should I start with more of kind of like, should I try to get some sales before I start registering, or do you think it would be better to?
So in order to get the permits to sell the stuff, it's going to ask you for your business information. So you probably will need to get your business structure in order so that you can get
Structure first.
Yeah, get your permits and stuff. Now, I will disclose that, you know, having a corporate structure in the state of California is an annual fee. So there is an annual fee. Like I said, it's an investment. But it's just something that entrepreneurs, we have to do, you know, so it comes with the pain and the glory of it all.
Okay, so first thing you think is registering a business.
I would, just because, you know, number one, it'll help you get the permits that you need to make those sales. And then if you do come across some grant opportunities, you can apply for them. There's a lot of them right now, especially for micro entrepreneurs. I feel like a lot of the grants are geared towards new entrepreneurs, which I thought was really interesting. So I think it's a great time to do that. If you do move forward with the business structure, because it is an investment, you want to have a game plan to already start trying to make sales so that you make back your investment and some. So maybe creating a game plan alongside registering, with like your business plan. Okay, I'm going to submit this, it's going to cost me this much, but in order to offset that, I'll have to start making these types of sales, and I can do that by going in these events, and you know, just have that all kind of envisioned.
What is an estimated investment into registering a business?
Well, it's not so much the registration that's going to cost a lot. It's actually the legal structure. So if you're working with a CPA who does it, or an attorney, or if you want to go to LegalZoom and do it yourself, it can vary. I know that if you're paying more than $1,500 for something like this, you're paying too much. I think $1,500 is max. But I have seen folks that charge anywhere from $500 to $1,500 when it comes to these things. LegalZoom, I believe, does them, but you're going to be doing it on your own, and you're not going to get that feedback you need about how to properly structure yourself.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Yeah, you guys had really good questions.
I have, excuse me, I have a question. So what if I'm selling in two counties, LA and Orange County? Would I need permits for both counties? Like all the permits?
Okay, so I know that there's specific permits for like 90-day usage within respective counties. So if you're not operating more than 90 days in either county, I would probably go that route.
Okay, because I am seasonal, so a lot of the things I do are
Perfect.
seasonal.
Yeah, so
Okay.
look at that 90-day registration with each county.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Nothing else?
I was just gonna write in a comment, but then I'm just gonna say and drop it in the chat. So Action Opportunity Fund is an organization that provides different types of consulting as well. And they're free consulting. And if you go, let me just drop the link. If you drop that link, if you go to that link, you go directly to the different resources. And one of the things that they provide is like legal support for you, Tasha, that you are looking to formalize your business. They will be able probably to tell you what kind of a structure will work best for you. They provide financial management, a sort of thing. Just go through it. I check it out. It's like 30 minutes consultations that they offer, and it's free. So you just have to register.
Wow, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is bomb.
Bringing that up because I actually had taken a screenshot earlier this morning for something that I thought would be really helpful for everyone. And there is, I guess the County of Los Angeles just funded this program called lalegalhelp.org. And so it looks like they're providing free legal help as well with contracts and commercial leases, business structure, and entity formation. The rest wouldn't apply here, but yeah, they are offering free business structure. So again, it's lalegalhelp.org.
Yay, thank you.
Go get that free stuff.
Yes.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Cool.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay.
I'll have homework.
Well,
Seriously,
thanks,
in my mind, it's
Corissa.
like, there's so many steps. I don't even know where to start.
Oh, don't be intimidated. This is all stuff in the beginning. And again, it's stuff I wish I had known. It would have made like the opening process a little smoother for me. Just take it with a grain of salt. Once you get past this stuff, you get into all your fun creative work.
Amen.
Yeah,
Also,
very
I feel like these last few questions kind of help put things into perspective as far as like steps. Like I also I haven't started anything yet because I'm like, I don't know. I'm not really sure what legal structure yet. Like I'm not certain. I think I just needed a little more, like I needed to ask some more questions, but I think like even Tracy brought up before, like didn't know what I didn't know. And so now that I've known this, I'm like, okay, now I feel like I know what questions I need to ask to find the proper structure and then move on to register and then move on to the things. So all good.
Yay, I love that. That is our goal.
I think the fear is just overwhelming.
It can be, but don't. It's like, honestly, past it. Yeah.
It is. It's like the feeling, but when you do the action, it's completely opposite. You feel free, liberated. And when you get this knowledge of experience, it just becomes easier and easier. But it's like that the step, right? The first step. But and we're asking questions, we're all thinking. So it's like no, what is it? No pain, no gain.
You know that today I did a meditation and the mantra was like, everything is easier than you think. And it was just repeating that. So it's just a reminder, like it seems overwhelming and it seems like it is a lot because you haven't done it. But once you start doing it, you're like, oh, this was it.
Yeah.
So just do one step and then everything will start to fall in place.
Yes, amen. I'm gonna use that tonight. Everything is simple.
Than you think. Everything is easier than you think.
Everything is easier than you think. I love that.
It
That's
was
my
really
next
simple.
tattoo.
Any question or comments before we end?
Just thankful.
Good. Yeah, we have a lot to be thankful for. So we'll see each other tomorrow at noon. I'll send out the link to early in the morning. And yeah, have a good evening.
Yay.
Would it be too early for wine and noon?
I already started.
Wait, are you talking about what? Look at.
I already started.
I'll say tomorrow.
I never know what's in my cup.
I was like, when Carissa's here, we're allowed to have a beer
Right.
wine.
Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.